What is going on, everybody? It has been a long, long time, but we are back on 49ers First Takes YouTube channel. I have a very special guest, the one, the only Andre from Dre Area Sports, IE Sports Radio, and I'm
What's
gonna
going on?
forget, and I'm gonna forget the last one. It's
What?
NorCal
Oh,
Sports
yeah.
Reports.
I do the NorCal Sports Report for IE Sports Radio. But yeah, no, dude, Aaron, thank you for having me on here. If I can talk right,
Go
I
ahead.
just got off work. I'm ready to talk about some 49ers. I just got done dealing with all the stresses and annoyances of work, and now I'm ready to talk some 49ers football, some sports talk. So what's going on, man?
Not much. I didn't really know if I was going to go live much in the month of February, just because the Niners season ended really in November, but officially
Yeah.
ended at the end of December. But with the Super Bowl going the way that it went, which it's kind of weird as a 49ers fan to be really overly happy for another team winning, but 49er fans, along with probably the rest of the world, wanted to see the Kansas City Chiefs go down, and they went down in dramatic fashion. And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit. And I wanted to touch on how, in a way, the 49ers can maybe take a blueprint, because it is a league, a copycat league, and the league is all about finding the next great thing that works and trying to copycat it to your team because it worked for the Eagles, right? So, hey, let's try it with the Niners too. And a lot of people are talking about that after the Super Bowl. That the Niners need to do this, the Niners need to do that. They need to take a page from the Eagles book. So I wanted to talk about that. And then just some of the latest news going on right now with Debo, Brock Purdy, and all that stuff. So whenever you're ready, let's do it.
Yeah, when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl, there's two common factors. One, as long as Tom Brady is involved in the game, he's going to lose, and if he beats the Niners the following year, he's going to get smashed in the Super Bowl. It happened both times. After they beat the Niners, they went on to take on the Buccaneers, got smashed. They beat the Niners. The next year they get back there, get smashed. So whatever it is, it's a combination of Tom Brady and the Niners. They get crushed the next time they go back there. No, but I mean, look, I watched the entirety of Super Bowl 59. I know a lot of people out there were like, I'm not watching this shit. I'm boycotting it, whatever. I watched the whole thing. I watched it with my kids. I thought it was one of the greatest games ever because we got to watch Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and the Chiefs get their absolute asses kicked, and I loved every minute of it. I loved watching them just squirm in their seats. I love watching Patrick Mahomes throwing pick sixes. Like, where was this Patrick Mahomes last year when we played them? Why couldn't we get this one? It's
Exactly.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl either, but I said, what am I doing at 6:30 on a Sunday? Nothing. So I got a little pizza, I got a little wings at home, made it home. And I was watching the game with every thought in my mind being that the Kansas City's going to go to three-peat, and there's nothing the Eagles do, and Jalen Hurts going to get exposed, and all that
Yep.
other stuff. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
thinking all the same stuff that everybody else was thinking. And then it happened. They got their asses totally kicked. I mean, they didn't just get beaten; they got demoralized, brutalized, embarrassed. It's kind of sad because Eagle fans are or Chiefs fans are kind of trolling 49er fans, being like, it's sad that you got to live through the Eagles and they could do what you guys couldn't. And to an extent, it is true. It is
I
sad.
mean, come on. Like, look, the bottom line is this: that's low hanging fruit. You guys got your asses whooped. The Niners have never got their asses whooped in the Super Bowl. And when we did, we came back and almost won the game. Tom Brady never got his ass whooped, and the one time he did, he came back and won the game. So this whole talk about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they're the best ever. He's the GOAT. Well, guess what? After this ass whooping, that conversation went right out the window. Now they were just a very successful franchise, and he's a really good player. The talk about being the GOAT, talk about Andy Reid being the best coach ever. I'm sorry, that conversation died on Sunday when they got shellacked by the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles literally walked in there and put their foot up Patrick Mahomes' ass the entire game. He couldn't do anything. That their O-line was like butter. They just went right through them. Like, dude, they ran through that. The defensive line ran through their offensive line like diarrhea, dude. They ran right through them, and I loved it every minute.
Yeah, I loved it too. I just loved that. You didn't see a lot of the camera pointing up to the press box during that game.
No,
there wasn't a lot of Taylor Swift.
Okay,
there
okay.
wasn't a lot of all that stuff, which was.
Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that because I thought it was really weird. Because here's the thing: when the Niners are playing them, they're showing Taylor Swift every possession. Woo, yeah, right? And then in this game, when they're getting their ass kicked, she was shown maybe two times in the whole game. Here's my suspicion: is that before this game, her representatives told the NFL if they are losing, if Taylor does not look happy and is not cheering, we don't want her on camera. So they showed her a couple of times, but they didn't keep going back to that. And then there was that one shot where she was on the Jumbotron and everybody booed her. and that was great. But it just seemed kind of weird that, like, of all the games, this was the one that you barely saw her. Because it feels like they were told, keep her off screen as much as possible. You know what I mean? So it just didn't seem, you would think, based on the ratings, based on how popular Taylor Swift was last year in the Super Bowl for the NFL, not to mention how popular she is, all the way around. Yeah, Leon, same thing. I love that she got booed. They barely showed her at all. You would have thought they would have showed her multiple times throughout the game because it's Taylor Swift. No. And it's not like, well, President Trump was there. Why didn't they keep showing him? Taylor Swift had a following when it came to this last season, into this season. But yet you don't show her when her team and her fucking boyfriend, Travis Kelce, are getting their asses kicked. Kelce was like literally contemplating his life on the sideline. Just a complete and utter fucking diva. Just sitting there. Like, just trying to figure out, where do I go in life? What do I do? He looked like a Taylor Swift song come to life. It was ridiculous. And he should be ashamed of himself. To call himself a man.
At least Patrick Mahomes took the L like a champ. Owned it.
Yeah, he even said it.
And you got Travis Kelce refused to speak to the media after, at least the public media. I think he spoke to somebody, but
they got him outside of Taylor Swift's luxury suite. They were all there waiting for him. But yeah, he didn't make himself public. He never took the podium. He pulled the same shit that what's his name? Mark Andrews? Is that his name? The tight end? That's the same thing he did. He did not make himself available to the media. He dropped that pass for that 2-point conversion that would have tied the game. He just left. Like, I'm out. I don't want to talk to you guys. I was like, come on, dude. That's a bitch move. I'm sorry.
What watching that game and it being totally gratifying and seeing the Chiefs go down as a 49er fan, watching that game, what was your thoughts? Were you upset that the 49ers couldn't finish the job? Did you look at it as a blueprint that the 49ers need to change some things?
I think definitely
to overcome their ails in the Super Bowl and them not being able to finish the job, because a lot of people were comparing how the Niners really shut them down last year for a while until the Dre Greenlaw injury, and then everything started to kind of take shape. But the Niners defense played reasonably well last year's Super Bowl. Their offense couldn't get it together and couldn't get it going for whatever reasons. Well, whoever you want to blame, offensive line, Brock Purdy, Debo, Ayuk, or whatever. It was weird. It was like a bittersweet feeling for me. I felt happy that they didn't three-peat. I felt happy that they got their butts kicked because I felt like they are super arrogant, egotistical, and all that stuff. So it was nice to see. But at the same time, as a Niners fan, I'm kind of like, damn, the Eagles kind of showed us just how far away we really are to ever, getting that done.
I think, with the Eagles, we always knew that they had a good offensive line. They had Mialata, they have Lane Johnson, Tyler Becton they brought in this year and really turned his career around. So they always had the assets at offensive line. That was always a strength for them. Defensively, they were a deeper team and they had more talent at the defensive line. And they were able to get a ton of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And I think when you look at the Niners, they had a lot of sexy names, but they weren't a very deep team.
Nope.
I thought they were deeper than they were the previous year. Because they actually had 3 defensive ends that they could rotate in. You're talking about Nick Bosa, Chase Young, and Randy Gregory. And Gregory, he recovered a fumble. He had a sack. Javon Hargrave caused a fumble. I think he also had a sack. Second half of that game, they weren't able to really contain Mahomes very well in the Chiefs' offense. And besides, Hargrave was dealing with a hamstring injury that second half. I think that the hamstring started acting up because all of a sudden he sort of disappeared and wasn't as big of a factor. I think that possibly Christian McCaffrey wasn't 100%. I mean, he fumbled on the first drive, and that really that fucked him up because they were going to score on that drive. One of the things that I thought Jalen Hurts did a great job was that he was able to run with the football. Whenever he saw a hole, he would take off for a huge gain. So they weren't playing a spy on him whatsoever. So that anytime the pocket collapsed, there was clear running lanes up the middle. And he took full advantage of that. And on top of that, I thought Jalen Hurts was extremely accurate. So comparing him to Brock Purdy, I don't think Purdy was able to really run all that much. But through the air, he didn't have a bad game. Brock Purdy played really good. He had no interceptions. But the problem is that they had those drives towards the end of the second half, middle of the third quarter, where they couldn't really move the ball. And that really deflated them. And not to mention the muff punt. That got the Chiefs back in the game. It gave them the lead. And we had a 10-6 lead. And at that point, before the muff punt, the Niners defense was shutting them down. They couldn't do anything. They maybe would get a first down and then shut down. And then they go 4 and out. First down, 4 and out. They were really controlling the line of scrimmage against the Chiefs. But when you let them get back in the game, then it swings momentum back towards Kansas City, and then it's more of an even playing field. And the Niners didn't do a good job at executing at that. We could argue all we want about the refs, but at the end of the day, what was our biggest concern going into that Super Bowl and going out of the Super Bowl was our offensive line. And at the end of the day, our offensive line failed, which is why Chris Jones came through unblocked, and he had 2 options. He had Brandon Ayuk, who was wide open in the end zone. He also had Juwan Jennings on like a curl route, and if he would have hit him, he would have caught that ball and went right into the end zone. But instead, you had the biggest guy on the field, Chris Jones, coming at you unblocked, and Brock wasn't able to get that pass off. So that was the game right there.
I was watching a clip on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and it was Joe Shasky from 95.7 The Game talking with his new co-host, and they both they were disagreeing on exactly what it would take to kind of get to where the Eagles are and be able to finish the job and what the Niners need to do to kind of get back to where they've been. And you have one guy saying we needed a number 1 receiver. We need a guy who can stretch the field. And Shasky is adamant that we have to fix both lines of scrimmage because the Philadelphia Eagles showed us more than anything in that Super Bowl that it matters, that the trenches matter.
Absolutely.
And it does matter. I think it is the more important thing to worry about. Do I think the 49ers are, I can't say they don't lack talent. Do they have a true number 1 if Ayuk isn't back until mid to late season and Deebo's gone? No, they definitely have an issue there. So, a lot of free agency talk and rumors that have been going on is do the Niners make a move for somebody in free agency. And personally, I could see it. I don't know what their free agency plan is. Do they get super overly influenced by the Super Bowl and just like completely go take? I saw somebody with a mock draft after the Super Bowl. I think it was John Chapman, and every pick was defensive and offensive lineman. It was like in jest. It was a joke, but he literally made every pick. So like, I want to see. I would love to see what the Niners do about that. To me, you have to play the perfect game when you beat the Chiefs. You have to play great defense, and you have to have complementary football happen. And that's something the Niners didn't do all season. Special teams, defense, offense, none of it ever clicked. None of it ever gelled. And in that game, you saw exactly what happens and how exactly what it takes to beat a team like the Chiefs. I mean, they made opportunistic plays on offense, short fields. Their kicker was money. They got turnovers on defense, and they capitalized on those turnovers. They were aggressive. A lot of people were saying, do they run the clock? And when they were up, and no, they take a deep shot, get a touchdown, and all of a sudden, the route is on. So, personally, man, Niners fans, and I think the Niners front offices themselves really got the chance to see what it's going to take to get back to where we need to be. And it's weird. You don't want to live in the moment too much, and you don't want to be a prisoner of the moment and go completely crazy. But Philadelphia, what they're doing right now on both sides of the ball is nothing short of amazing. So yeah, I think the Niners need to get back to what got them there in the first place. 2019, offensive or defensive line was amazing. The pass rush was amazing. They got them to that Super Bowl, and they were a really good run team. Those are the two things that they were excelling at in 2019 that they got them there. So the Niners need to return to that.
Yeah, I know. I think in the trenches is where they need to kind of, rebuild their D line, rebuild their O line. There's been a lot of talk about the possibility of the Niners trying to acquire a guy like Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett would be phenomenal. I'd be excited as hell to have Myles Garrett. But at what cost? Is it going to cost us all of our draft picks in this upcoming draft? Then maybe we don't do that, because they need to go deep when it comes to defensive line and offensive line, mainly defensive line. They need to go deeper. I mean, we saw that the Eagles had a much deeper team than the Chiefs. They had a deep team, and they had guys rotating in and out on that defensive line, and that caused a lot of problems for the Chiefs' offensive line. And so we have the opportunity here to really beef up our defensive line through the draft, possibly through free agency. But I think that getting a guy like Myles Garrett would be phenomenal. But if you're giving up all your draft capital this year to get Myles Garrett, then he gets hurt, then we're in a bad spot. So 100%. If it's draft picks, future draft picks, then I would say, yeah, let's do it. But if it's multiple draft picks from this draft coming up, which is already deep with defensive linemen, then maybe we don't do that trade. I think it's something to explore, but I don't think it's worth sacrificing the amount of picks that we have for this upcoming draft, because you need to have more depth at your defensive line and in your defense in general. And one of the things too is that, obviously they're going to need to kind of rebuild their cornerback position. All the guys they brought in, Yadam, Rock Ya-Sin, all those guys are all gone. And so who do you have? You have Renardo Green. You have Demo Lenore. You have Darrell Luter Jr. But outside of that, you don't got much.
And don't forget Malik Mustafa.
Malik. Well, I'm saying in terms of cornerbacks. Secondary, okay. Yeah. You have Jair Brown. You have Malik Mustafa. You have some of the guys you brought in as well. But at the corner position, they really need to dig deep and figure out who they can get in the draft and who they need to bring in for agency-wise to help kind of strengthen that. Because that was something that they tried to add more depth to this past season. And it failed them because the guys they brought in, look at Samuel Womack. They let him go for Isaac Yadam. And I thought Yadam was terrible. Aside from the occasional good play, the majority of his plays was terrible. He was getting beat left and right. It's why he's a journeyman. And Samuel Womack, the guy they gave up on, the guy they drafted, went on to have a more successful season under Gus Bradley in Indianapolis. And so, again, you brought in guys like Isaac Yadam, Devondre Campbell. Terrible signings. These guys were not good. They did not live up to the expectation of their contracts. And so the Niners need to be better at who they're bringing in and stick with the guys based on their talent level as opposed to the contracts that they signed them to. You signed a guy to a 1-year deal. He's underperforming. Then he doesn't make the team or he doesn't start. I don't care if you paid the guy. You go with the guy who's playing better or is more talented.
It's supposed to be a meritocracy. It's supposed to be whoever the best player is, which
exactly. But for me, at least, real quick, if you want to get back to where, let's say, the Eagles are at, and you want to be able to perform at that high level like we were, let's say, a couple years ago, then I think that it has to be at the offensive line. That's where it starts. And I think the guy from Atlanta, is it Drew Dahlman?
Yeah, his father played on the 49ers back. Yeah, was a offensive lineman. Yep.
Drew Dahlman. Yeah, Drew Dahlman is like the premier free agent center out in the league, or out in free agency coming up. I think that's the guy you got to get because Jake Brendel is terrible.
Yeah, he's awful.
Jake Brendel's awful. If he's your backup, okay, sure. If he's your starter, no. He's undersized. He underperformed. He can't get blocks in the second level. Like, I'm okay. Look, you're going to have Trent Williams as your left tackle. Aaron Banks, he's gone. I wouldn't even resign that guy. He played so terrible that I would not want to deal with Aaron Banks. I wouldn't give him that money after the way he played. He's scheduled to make something around like $8 million a year. I wouldn't pay him $8 million after what I got out of him last season, which was terrible. I think I'd be better off. I'd be happier if we went with a combination of either Spencer Burford and Ben Barch. Let those two play it out, and then those are the guys that are cutting. That's your right guard. Oh, I'm sorry, left guard. Right guard, we know we got Dominic Pooney. So your biggest holes is your center and your right tackle. Now look, you got Colt McKivitz. He actually didn't have that bad of a year. Could you go one more year with him? Probably, and I bet you anything they probably will. But the center position by far was the worst position on the offensive line for the Niners last season, and they had no answer for that. They were just kind of hoping on, like, well, if Feliciano comes back, maybe he can slip in here, and then he didn't come back, and then they were stuck with Jake Brendel, and he never got better. He never did. So offensive line is where they need to bring in more talent, and I think Drew Dahlman is the answer. That should be one of the main things that you bring in, is Drew Dahlman as your starting center.
I'm 100% with you on the not bringing in Myles Garrett as a free agent, or excuse me, as a trade option. If I'm the 49ers, if it's not future picks, I don't want any part of it, because you're right. It's great to have a guy like that on the team, but if you have no depth behind it and he gets hurt, then you're right back to 2023. So,
exactly
2024. If I'm the 49ers and I go into free agency, the two things I look for in free agency, I'm gonna probably, like you said, I'm go center, and I might go safety. Okay, maybe knock out another backup corner. Take those three things. Take care of that in free agency.
Yeah.
If you want to get a wide receiver in here, that's cool too. But you can't give up any draft picks. Not this year.
No.
It's not a great draft for wide receiver. So if you do a free agency move, a wide receiver, that totally makes sense. As far as the draft, it's really strong. A lot of people say in defensive linemen. So if I'm the 49ers, I'm not going to go every pick, of course, and take offense and defensive linemen in the draft, but they need the depth really bad. People ask, like, would you give up the number 11 pick for Myles Garrett? And it's like,
yes,
if it was only the number 11 pick, just a swap.
If it was number 11 pick and a future second round pick, or a couple of future picks, then yes. But if it's going to be the number 11 pick plus 4 of my picks in this coming draft, and then I can't deplete the team that much. They need to bring in reinforcements at these positions, especially defensive line. I mean, who do we have there now?
Getting paid, they need to start to get cheaper around other areas.
And
that's how you run it. That's how essentially a team like the Eagles, it took a couple seasons and they revamped what they had via the draft and via free agency, and they got right back to where they were. I think the 49ers take a part of that playbook, or take something from that playbook and do the exact same thing. You have to somehow facilitate, not facilitate, that's not the word I'm looking for, but you just got to have that perfect combination of a draft and key. When I say free agents, I mean like key free agents. I don't mean overspending for one guy like T. Higgins, and then not having any other money to do anything else in free agency and having to work on the draft. I'm talking about reasonable players that can start right away for the 49ers. And you're right. Drafting a rookie center to me is a no-go. Kyle doesn't play rookies unless it's Dominic Pooney. So yeah, a veteran center would be great. Second round, do you go right tackle? Do you take number 11, trade back out of 11, or take the 11, have somebody move up to take it, and then you double dip in the first round, maybe get a pass rusher and an offensive tackle and kill 2 birds with one stone? Would you do something like that?
I wouldn't be opposed to trading back in the first round to like the number 20 in the 20s, early 20s, because I mean, at least if you did that, you'd be getting something out of it. You'd be getting another draft pick to help get one more player in this upcoming draft. But I think that when you look at the needs of the overall team, right? We talk about Deebo Samuel trade. If we get rid of him, that's going to free up a lot of cap space. I want to say it was like $16 million, and not more.
But it's post June 1st. You save more money post June. If you were to cut him right now, you have a dead cap hit of like $30 million, which is crazy.
It's a lot of money.
Do you rip the Band-Aid off and just get rid of him because he's being a clown and say goodbye?
I would get rid of him when it benefits us the most.
Benefits the 49ers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at this point, whatever he's doing and whatever message he's trying to send by putting on Eagles gear and doing and being just an absolute troll.
Look, I think honestly, he wore the Eagles jersey because he was trying to support his buddy AJ Brown, and I think that he was trying to also show like, hey, look, I don't want the Chiefs to win, but I think he's too stupid to realize that like it just was a bad look all the way around. So I think that if you can get rid of him and save the money you would have paid him, you can use that money towards another receiver like a T. Higgins. I mean, when you compare T. Higgins to Deebo Samuel, Deebo had 51 receptions and 670 yards receiving. T. Higgins had 73 receptions and 911 yards receiving. And he also had 10 touchdowns, while Deebo only had 3. So the offensive production that T. Higgins is going to give you is much better than Deebo Samuel. Our offense is much better than the Cincinnati Bengals. We had, for most of the year, we had the number 1, number 2 ranked, number 3 ranked offense throughout most of the year. And the Bengals, I'd have to look at where they were ranked offensively, but with T. Higgins having 73 receptions and 10 touchdowns, that's great. Another guy is Devontae Adams, 85, over 1,000 yards, only had 8 touchdowns. So, but he also was on 2 teams as well. But over 1,000 yards. T. Higgins almost over 1,000 yards. Deebo Samuel 670, almost at 700. His overall production was terrible. And so if we do trade Deebo Samuel, you're looking at maybe getting a 5th round pick. You're not getting that much for him as it is. So the benefit of getting rid of Deebo Samuel is to save the money you would have paid Deebo Samuel. Whatever money you're going to save, that's what's going to benefit you in getting your next receiver. I was talking with Larry Krueger, and he had a really good point. So I don't want to make it sound like this is my point. He brought this up, and I thought it was a really good point, which was you can't sign a receiver like a T. Higgins if you don't have your quarterback already under contract. And I think that's why we're hearing so many rumors about, Brock's contract, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon, is because they want to get that contract locked in place and their quarterback signed so that when they go to try and get another receiver, their quarterback is already signed. You know, you can't sign a good receiver with them thinking, well, what if Brock doesn't sign? What if this lingers on into training camp and, from mini camp to training camp into the preseason? I got the Chargers trying to sign me. They got Justin Herbert, and he's ready to go. And he's a really good quarterback, except when he plays in the playoffs. So you see what I'm saying? Like, it's going to affect your ability to negotiate a contract with a exclusively, a star receiver. And so I think what their plan is they want to move off of Deebo Samuel, possibly trade him during the draft or after June 1st. They're not going to cut him. That's for one thing. He wants them to cut him, and they're not going to cut him because at this point they can't afford to cut him and then figure out the scramble to try to find another receiver. Yep. I think, you can't go into the season with Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, and Jacob Cowling. You can't.
And you have an aging Kittle who had an amazing year last year.
He's phenomenal.
He plays at such a breakneck pace. And then, Christian McCaffrey, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. But he's also, he came off of a year where he had Achilles tendonitis on both Achilles. So to me, man, it's like it's an important offseason for the 49ers. The Niners need to get this offseason right. They need to make a lot of uncomfortable decisions when it comes to players. Mm-hmm. I'm glad they have the testicular fortitude to make the changes in the coaching staff. Bringing back Saleh, getting Brent Boyer as your special teams coach,
mm-hmm.
Bringing in Gus Bradley, which I know we and you both know Sterling Bennett. He was staunchly against bringing him in, but as an assistant and someone who could be the successor, perfect plan. It's not always good to go backwards. Some people don't like rah-rah defensive coaches. They want a guy with a scheme specific type thing. So, there's that talk like, is Saleh really a DC or is he just a big rah-rah coach guy? So, because you see what Vic Fangio did in the Super Bowl and it was nothing short of amazing. But he also has a ton of talent on his team too.
They did. They were loaded. They were absolutely loaded.
So let's not front and just be like, it's got to be that perfect combination of a good scheme and awesome talent.
It's tough for the Niners because you're down Javon Hargrave. You already know that they're going to cut him June 1st. It wouldn't surprise me if Hargrave went back to the Eagles because they'd probably get him at a much discounted rate. And some of the guys they have now are set to be free agents. So they got to figure something out. But you lost Hargrave, right? So your starting defensive tackle is gone. You still got Malik Collins. You still got Nick Bosa. You still got Leonard Floyd. In a perfect world, for me, when it comes to free agents, I want DJ Jones. I think DJ Jones is a guy you can get at a good price. I think he made somewhere around $5 to $6 million last season with the Denver Broncos. I'd pay him the same and have him be your defensive tackle here next to Nick Bosa. And then through the draft, you look for depth at defensive tackle because DJ Jones doesn't have to be your starter. DJ Jones can be a rotational piece that you use, for run defense. So I think you can draft a number of defensive tackles. Walter Nolan is another defensive tackle that's been talked about. So I think you have options in the draft to deepen this defensive line. But overall, in the secondary is one of their strengths, but it's also they do have to fortify that slot corner position on who's going to be there. Because you got Demo, you got Ronaldo Green, but you got to get somebody else. Is Darrell Luter that guy? I don't know.
A lot of people are trying to say, and this is every free agent or any guy that's worth a damn, 49er fans and people who have speculative YouTube or TikToks or Twitter accounts like DJ Reed from the Jets, like bring him back. Oh, that would be great, but he's going to cost a ton. He's not going to be a 1-year option. He wants a long-term contract.
That's why I think, to be honest, when we talk about the receiver position, if they move Deebo Samuel, I feel like the Niners are going to end up with Devontae Adams. If Devontae Adams gets bought out and becomes a free agent, I could see the Niners signing Devontae Adams.
Yep.
Because he would likely sign a 1-year deal.
Yep.
A 1-year deal.
T. Higgins to me he's going to get a top of the market. He's going to get a top of the market deal.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of money, a lot of guarantee. He's young. He's uber talented.
I mean, you're looking at $25 million for a year for T. Higgins. And that's why my mind keeps saying I could see them going back to, going down the route of Devontae Adams, because I feel like they can get him on a 1-year, 2-year deal. It might be $20 million, but you're only paying him for 1 year. So you can kind of, you can budget that. Like, okay, we signed you for a 1-year deal, but we signed Drew Dahlman.
You got to have a veteran. You have to have a veteran wide receiver in your room.
But here's your thing.
And he would be perfect.
He's not a burner. He's not going to stretch the field. He's kind of like a Jawan Jennings. He's that big receiver that can get you that 10-yard pass first down. But I think he's still really good. Now, he is a little bit older. He's 32. So he's on the wrong side of 30. He's only 6'1", even though he seems bigger in real life when you see him on TV. But overall, I think that Devontae Adams, he's 6'1", 215. Deebo Samuel supposedly is 6 foot 215. So I think that he fits the mold of what Deebo Samuel was. Now, is he going to be a running back out of the backfield? No. Fuck no. But I think that he fits the mold of what Kyle Shanahan sees in Deebo Samuel. Like, hey, if I bring him in on the field as a receiver, he's my version of Deebo Samuel.
If you bring him in, he's your starting X receiver.
Yes,
no question
absolutely.
in my mind. He goes right to the top of the food chain. So essentially what you'd have is you'd have him to start. You'd have Jawan. You'd have Pearsall. Probably Jacob Cowing. And then you have to look to see, like, okay, if and when a guy like Brandon Ayuk comes back, and he comes back earlier than expected and healthy, boy, oh boy, does that all of a sudden become a really super talented wide receiver room.
But still, we don't know what we're going to get out of Brandon Ayuk. We don't know when he comes back if he's going to be the Ayuk of 2 years ago or the Ayuk of last season. We don't know what we're going to get out of him out of that. He had a pretty horrible knee injury. Now,
it was pretty bad.
Tim Kawakami reported that the Niners are going for broke because, again, the Super Bowl is going to be at Levi Stadium. And if that holds true, that they're going for broke, then I honestly believe that they're going to sign more players than we possibly imagined. And I think that they're going to go over the luxury tax or break their salary cap because they're willing to go all in. And to me, that means signing Drew Dahlman. But I think if you sign Drew Dahlman, that means you're probably going to look to try and sign a guy to a 1 to 2 year deal like a Devontae Adams. I don't think you can do Drew Dahlman and T. Higgins. No way. That's way too much money. But the offensive line has to be rebuilt. It has to be fortified. You cannot roll with Jake Brendel again. I mean, you're better off throwing you and I out there than Jake Brendel.
They had two really big misses too in Robert Beal and Drake Jackson too, which if they would have hit, would have been awesome depth and talent and young and cheap, all those things you want when you want to spend money other places on your team to reward players that have been incredibly talented veterans. But they're right now, like they missed for as well as they can make these late round selections, and they've hit on a lot of late round picks. Boy, oh boy, when the Niners miss, they miss hard. So
they do.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of the other defensive lineman we brought in.
Well, we still have Evan Anderson. We still got Malik Collins, Bosa, and Floyd, Robert Beal. and Drake Jackson, but I mean, that's not. I mean,
Who's the other guy that we brought in last year in the free agency? I forget his name.
well, Khalil Davis and Kalia Davis. I mean,
No. It was he had a really weird last name.
Jordan Elliott.
Nope.
Oh, Sam Okawanu.
No, not Sam Okawanu. He had a name on like Pierre Paul or John Pierre Paul. He had like a 3-syllable last name. Oh, what the heck? Come on,
Was on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Oh, Gross Matos.
There you go.
I mean, he might be a cut candidate. I mean, look, they brought him in and he was hurt most of the year. I don't know if he made as big of a difference as they wanted him to. I think they saw him more as like a rotational piece to help on the defensive line, especially at defensive end. But it didn't really work out with him. They may keep him because they don't have they don't have very many options unless they draft deep at defensive line. If they trade for like a Myles Garrett, then you bet your ass Gross Matos isn't going anywhere.
Yeah,
because they're gonna need to retain everyone they possibly can.
If they bring him in at 11, you got to keep both of those guys. You got to keep Gross Matos and Leonard Floyd, because then all of a sudden you become really deep.
Well,
especially
now remember,
if everybody stays healthy.
Like I saw Leon talking about Devontae Adams. He's not even a free agent yet. There's a possibility that the Jets are going to cut him, and then he'll be a free agent. They haven't done that yet, so we don't know. But like I said, man, I'm telling you right now, if they can get a Devontae Adams on a 1-year deal, they are going to go after him. That's just my feeling. Is he the right pick for the Niners? Probably not. Or I should say this. Is he the best pick for the Niners to sign Devontae Adams? Probably not, but I think he's still a really good option.
In 1994, they went balls deep and went really heavy in free agency to win the Super Bowl against the Chargers. I mean, they brought in Ken Norton, they brought in Gary Plummer, Richard Dent, Charles Mann, Toy Cook.
Yeah,
Dion.
but I mean, that was back in 94, 93. So, I mean.
Yeah, but they had to pay down the road for all those. I mean, remember, then there was another year where they brought in Chris Dolman. Yeah. And they brought in Kevin, the defensive lineman that played for the Rams and the Steelers. Oh, jeez. Pass rush. Damn it. My brain doesn't work. But anyways, the point being, like, they did those years to try to get Super Bowl championships. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a team, like you said, from what Kawakami says, and not a lot of people, there's people that are not big fans of Kawakami, depending if
there's people that aren't big fans of anybody. Of everybody, I mean. There's people that aren't big fans of you, big fans of me. But here, look. At the end of the day,
damn right,
they're talking about going all in. I think if you're the Niners, right, this is just based on past experience with John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I think that they definitely explore the Myles Garrett trade because, look, what'd they do 2 years ago? They went all in on Javon Hargrave. Didn't really work out.
Nope.
Didn't work out. And then this year, what happened? He got hurt. Then they were fucked because they had nobody to replace him with. Jordan Elliott was like, what am I doing out here every play? And then they went to like Sam O. Robert Beal was like, I don't know what I'm doing. It was just a big fucking mess. And then pretty soon it was just like Evan Anderson, stay out there and be our run stopper. And he was like, I'm good, but
big Guardians cap on there looking
yeah,
really dumb.
But he was playing more than he probably should. And he was just like, oh God, this is a mess. Leonard Floyd looks more like a linebacker playing defensive end. He's a very lean guy. What's up? He's a very lean guy. So they really got to beef up there. Now, here's another option I'll throw at you is that what if they go Deebo Samuel and let's say, 5th round pick, what have you, to the Chargers for Joey Bosa. And at least it gets rid of Deebo Samuel and it gives you another defensive end to rotate in with both Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd.
He's always hurt, though, just like his brother.
But it's an option, though.
It's an option.
It's a sexy option in the sense that you would have the Bosa brothers together. Hey, that's cool. But is it going to pan out? Maybe, maybe not.
their personalities to me. You need to have someone with a little bit more aggressiveness and energy mentally when they're talking. I don't know, like Bosa's unbelievable on the field, but like, oh man, the vibe sometimes with him is just like, oof, not a lot going on upstairs. I mean, if it happened, I would be stoked. But I mean, does Debo even have any value at this point?
Not much.
Are
I mean,
teams
look,
willing to spend for him?
he
I
had
don't
a
think they are.
bad season last year. He's on the wrong side of 28. Most of these, I'm going to run through you receivers, start to fall apart at when they get to 28. And look at last season. He was not the same player.
How's it going? They used Floyd wrong. He's a situational pass rush specialist. Once they finally rotated him in with Samo, they actually started producing 100%.
Yeah, he's not an every down
He's not a
defensive
starting
end.
down. Yeah, he's not a.
That was
he's not a 4-3
mistake they
starting
made.
DN.
Yeah, that was a mistake they made with him.
You need a base end to play with Bosa. Someone
and not
who
only
plays
that, though,
run well. Yeah.
But here's my problem: is that like whoever you get a defensive end to complement Nick Bosa, even if you stick with Leonard Floyd, you're looking at Bosa was playing more snaps than he's ever played in his career last season. So you have to be able to rotate Bosa in and out with somebody else. And so at least if you got a guy like Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack or another defensive end that may not be as prestigious as a Myles Garrett, but you have to have rotational pieces. And that's why I'm leaning more and more towards the draft is what's going to make or break this team next season, because you got to be able to go deep with your defensive line. And I don't, as it stands right now, they can't. Samo was supposed to be a defensive end. Half the time they lined him up a defensive tackle right next to Leonard Floyd because they were like, oh, fuck, we have nobody else. And you still got Malik Collins, and I think Collins is a good player. But again, he was playing more snaps than he probably should have. They all were. So depth at defensive line is a premium, and they have to figure out how to get that. But if you go after Myles Garrett, well, you got a badass pass rusher, but you probably won't have much depth. And if he gets hurt, it's like, uh-oh.
I want to ask you something. I'm a grumpy. I can be a grumpy person.
Are you calling me grumpy?
No, myself.
I know. Okay,
so, I tweeted this last night.
Uh-oh.
For some reason, I don't know if I got people that were saying horrible things in response. Said like, it wasn't a bad. All I
if
said
it's on
is
X, usually that's like on par.
This is what I said. I said the Niners aura looks really bad right now. Like their aura's bad.
I saw that.
I said you got WWE Kittle and you got, like Debo complaining.
Yeah.
And you got, like the Fred Warner podcast with his wife who doesn't know what's going on. And I'm just like,
what's with all these podcasts? Like, get the fuck out of here with that.
Like this whole aura right now is just like, what are we doing, bro? Like the team that we couldn't get past got beat to shreds by the Eagles. And we're on podcast. We're live streaming with our best buddy on the Eagles. We're on WWE Raw. Like, man, it frustrates me, bro. Like that makes me angry. Like other people are took care of business on a team that we can't beat. They have our number, and that's the image that we're seeing. It just bothers me personally. The grumpy person in me is like hating so. I know it's the off season. They can do what they want. They can be where they want. I don't know, man. I don't want to hear about it. What is your thought on that?
I think the whole podcast thing is stupid. The Jets recently came out today and said, and they told Aaron Rodgers, if you're going to come back on this team, you cannot be on the Pat McAfee show. Because they were like, fuck that shit. That's bullshit. And so when it comes to Deebo Samuel and Fred Warner and all these stupid, like, have you ever watched the Micah Parsons podcast? It's fucking horrible. It's him in a weird corner of his room, like, hey, yo, what up? Blah, 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 blah. It's just like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why are you talking about other players and games? Just fucking play the game.
I think Debo has one where he's always like slunched in his chair. He's just kind of talking like, I'm really.
He doesn't. I'll give him this. Micah Parsons, at least, he's the host of his own podcast. Deebo Samuel is the guest of his own podcast. He has that girl who is the host. So I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, why are you even doing this if you're not even running the damn show? It's like, hey, yo, what up? So, I think we're the best team. It's like, dude, just shut up. Just shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear what you have to say. In fact, at this point now, whatever he says and does, I don't give a shit. I don't care
nobody cares
what Deebo says anymore. Just get him the fuck out of here. Get him out.
One person who's always a positive ray of sunshine in the Niners content creating community is Sterling Bennett. Sterling was pissed about Deebo. He don't like him no more.
Just the other day, he's like, I don't care what Deebo says about anything. It's true. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Get him out of here.
Go away. If you don't want to be here, don't let the door hit you in the rear run, bro. See ya.
But here's the thing.
Service.
He cannot dictate. Deebo Samuel cannot dictate where he goes. Now, they could seek a trade and say, hey, look, we got with the Denver Broncos. They're willing to give us this much. If that makes sense for the team, then they're going to do it. But knowing Deebo Samuel, if they don't find a trade for him, he's going to do the whole holdout weird bullshit. Like, I want to be traded. Because look at, what did he do last season? He bitched and complained about not getting the ball. What did they do the very next week? Gave him the ball multiple times. And what did he do? Drop the ball multiple times. He made an ass of himself. And so now he's coming up on the last year of his contract. He's got an expiring contract, which in most sports, that's where you want to grab the guy. Oh, it's an expiring contract, so we'll get him, and we only got to pay him for 1 year. And so now he's like, okay, I want to be traded. Well, his value is extremely low right now. He's trying to get ahead of it. He's a lock in. Yeah, exactly. It's really boring. I tried to watch it. I was like, oh God. I watched maybe like a minute, and I was just like, this is really dumb. I just turned it off right away. I was like, God, like you and I are better podcast hosts than he is, and he's not even the host. He's just there, slumped in his chair. Like this. Yeah. Man, I try to tell him. It's just kind of like, come on, man. You're supposed to be a leader of this team. Like, lock in, dude.
He was looking a little fat in that Eagles jersey, too.
He probably was fat. He was probably eating fucking chips and dip at Media Row. And that's the other thing, too. It's that, I will, the Super Bowl, right? You get Media Row. All of a sudden, all these Niners are there fucking walking around, talking to the media. It's like, what are you guys doing there? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? I'm sure that
they took this. Chasky had the same feeling as I did.
They were all there. It was like, what are you guys doing there?
The Niners just kind of accepted their fate this year, and we're talking about, we're getting a longer offseason as usual. We haven't really had any time to ourselves. It's just like, really?
It was just
you're
like,
tired? What about the Chiefs, who are in the playoffs every year and go to the conference championships or the Super Bowl?
Third straight Super Bowl.
Aren't they tired too? Aren't they exhausted? Don't give me that. Oh man, like Shesky was like, he was bothered by that. Like they were just so accepting of being eliminated early, and it was like, dude, they got embarrassed this year, and I'm glad they did. They looked bad, and like,
look, they look bad, but they had a shit ton of injuries, so they were hurt in all different positions, left and right. And so a lot of teams have injuries. We had a lot of key injuries to a lot of key players, and it derailed the entire season. Christian McCaffrey, J.P. Mason was hurt multiple times.
Yes, he was.
Talano Hufanga, multiple players that we rely on. Charvarius Ward with his personal issues. Trent Williams with his personal issues and injuries. Javon Hargrave. I mean, just key pieces that we need in order to keep this train going were hurt. So look at last season. Hargrave was healthy practically the whole year. And we got much farther. Now, was he the difference? No, but I'm saying the defensive line was healthier throughout most of the season. So at the end of the day, look, they need to redo their offensive line. They need 1 to 2 guys on the offensive line. They need about 2 or 3 guys to add a starter and depth to their defensive line. They still have Jordan Elliott. I think he'll have a better year next year, being a pure backup. But they got to get somebody in there at the defensive line next to Bosa, who is going to help with their defense against the run because they need a guy like DJ Jones. They've never had anybody since he left. If there's anyone that you're going to sign, that's the guy I want to sign is DJ Jones.
You are a big proponent of DJ Jones. I hope he makes the team.
I
Or hope he
do.
can sign just so you can.
I'm going to buy his fucking jerseys. I'm going to do.
Dude,
I'm going to
just
buy one
because
and
you
give
want
away
him on the
one.
team so bad. I hope you
I
sign
do
him.
because I feel like he fits the need. We need a run-stopping defensive lineman that you can't move.
If I make a one move, I think the Niners could be in play for Javon Holland from the Dolphins.
Javon
safety.
Holland would be good.
Yeah.
What's
Get
his
themselves
name?
a veteran Tyshawn Gibson level safety on the team. Someone who you know knows what he's doing. He had some injury issues. Yeah, I don't know what other issues they had when they had what's his name there as a defensive coordinator, Fangio. There were some issues with the players and Fangio not like meshing because he worked them too hard apparently. So
You worked me too hard.
you want me to be great and actually win? Oh my God! So you don't have we're not going to Cabo. We're already planning our Cabo vacation in December. We're not even really worried about the games. Man, I'll tell you, man, it was so hard watching the 49ers games late in this year.
It was brutal, dude. It was very brutal. But I mean, Jermaine Sherwood, I've heard talks about him at middle linebacker. You bring him in, you get him and Dre Greenlaw as your three linebackers. That's going to be good. If you can do something like that, I think that Solomon Thomas probably comes back to the Niners to play with. He follows Robert Saleh. I think he comes back at a very low price. I don't think that what's his face Kinlaw comes back, but I do see Solomon Thomas coming back, and he's a defensive tackle that can help out to add more depth. But unless you're getting a Myles Garrett that comes at a cost of your future first round or a future draft picks. I want to say first round, but maybe it is the future draft picks, not this season. Then I would say, yeah, let's fucking go. But to me, I would give up the number 11 pick plus some future second and first round picks for Myles Garrett in a heartbeat. Because that's a for sure thing.
Yeah, if you want to go future picks on him, I'm cool with that. But
Yeah.
you got to stay. You got to if you're going to give up only number 11 and you get a solidified, bona fide, probably the tap. He's probably him and JJ Watt. I consider them. Jeez, I don't think Bosa right now is one of the top pass rushers in the league. He's had.
I think he is. I think he is.
You think he is? I think
because
he's down the pecking order right now. I think Myles Garrett is at the top. I think TJ Watt, and then you have maybe Bosa and Crosby kind of sitting in that third spot. That's just me. Based on his lack of productivity the last 2 years. Yes, he hasn't had a ton of help. Yes, he gets chipped and this and that and whatever, but like you get paid the big money, man. You're paid to produce, bro. Like it's nobody wants to hear about it, especially fans.
We talk about that, but in 2022, he was Defensive Player of the Year.
Right.
The following year, in 2023, Myles Garrett. Last year, Pat Surtain. So it's like before this season, those are the last two Defensive Players of the Year were Nick Bosa and Myles Garrett. Now, when you look at the Browns not this past season, but the year before, they had a really good defense. And what happened? He won Defensive Player of the Year because their defense was really good. Now, you look at our defense was not very good. It was terrible. Nick Sorensen looked lost. And what happened? You have Nick Bosa out there playing more snaps than he's ever played in his career. And he wore down. He was playing injured for most of that year because he had to. He was like, I got to get out there because, I mean, what are they going to do? Throw Sam Okawanu out there? Like, that's not good enough.
It's going to be an important offseason, Andre. Yeah. It's going to be an important offseason. Yeah. Free agency and the draft, man. The Niners got to hit home runs.
It's offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver. Those are your biggest holes for me you have holes in your secondary in terms of like in your corners or, your safety position. Do you go with Jair Brown? Do you try to re-sign Hufanga, do you bring back Drake Greenlaw, which I think you absolutely bring him back. But I'm sorry, but Calais Campbell, he's too old.
Yeah, he's a little old in the tooth, Leon. I agree.
Um,
He's really good for his age, but he is. Niners need to get young, bro. They need to get young and fresh.
Well,
That's why
but here's the thing: is that
you bring in Miles Garrett. He is older.
he's older, but he's a for sure thing. He's like, I'm going to dominate whoever's in front of me until I get hurt. But the guy doesn't get hurt. That's the thing. Let me
I just hope he doesn't get a. He comes to the 49ers and all of a sudden, Strawberry Reacts has a good point though. We need another tight end. They need to find the future. They need a future tight end. I know that's not priority.
No, they do. They do.
That would be
what's his name? Saubert? That wasn't the answer. The other two guys we used to have, they were okay, but
Raiden Willis.
He was a joke. He couldn't block. Cam Latu was horrible. That's where they cut him. That was the one thing they did right. They got rid of Cam Latu. I was like, this guy sucks.
And what did we do? What was the draft that we had a chance for? Well, we could have got an offensive lineman at that point. And that was when we took Jake Moody. We haven't even talked about kicker, bro. Like, what are we doing at kicker?
I mean, look, I think with kicker, you can bring in a number of guys that can definitely challenge Jake Moody.
How hard is that going to be? He can't.
Not very hard. But here's the thing: is that I'm sure Jake Moody, when he's kicking the ball on the practice field, he's fucking booming that ball. They're like, man, this guy looks incredible. And then he gets out there and he has no idea where the ball's going. He's just like, I'm gonna kick this really hard and hopefully it goes straight. Oh shit!
And then wait for my hug. Then wait for my long snapper to give me a hug because I'm sad.
He look, this guy. Oh my god. I'm done with Jake Moody. I mean, watching the Super Bowl, Harrison Butker, it's a hell of a last name, and Elliott just smashing the ball through the field goal post like it was nothing. And I'm just like, dude, every time either one of those teams or in the playoffs, any team lined up for a kick, I felt anxiety because I was like, if that was Jake Moody, I'd be fucking nervous right now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I have no faith that he's going to make it. Do I think he can make it? Absolutely. But is he going to make it? Who knows? Flip of a coin.
It's going to be interesting, man. We have, let's see, it's the 11th. So we got about a month. We got, what do we got coming up? We have the combine coming up soon.
The combine's coming up.
And then free agency's right after that.
The free agency is exactly a month away.
Yeah.
So that's going to be huge.
I hope, hey, for content's sake, I hope the 49ers are extremely active. That give me a reason to I had to buy StreamYard again to stream on my own channel. They cost way too much, so should ask people, hey, you want to donate to me?
Seriously, it's like they're gouging people.
40.
I almost went to Restream. They charge like $16 a month for the same shit. It looks totally different, but still, I was like, man, might as well.
I've thought about doing Restream, but they have certain issues with audio.
Yeah. Everyone has issues with it. I mean, even StreamYard for a while used to be it was so glitchy. It was like, what in the hell? It's gotten better now, but
yeah, it was real glitch-tastic. Yeah, so you got free agency in right about a month, which is going to be, dude, you never know, bro. Maybe the Niners go for broke and we're doing a stream in a month and we're talking about how the Niners just went out and got T. Higgins, and he'd be like, we never saw that coming. We talked about it, but we never saw it coming.
So here's the thing, is that free agency starts on March 13th, right? So you figure if they're going to make a splash for a receiver or for anybody, they got to get Brock's contract done by March 12th.
Yep.
Because then you can focus your attention on who do we need to sign. Because that's all predicated on who do we think we can draft in the draft coming up in April. So free agency is the next thing coming up, March 13th. And then the draft is on April 24th. But the combine, I think, is actually before that. So free agency is going to be a big day. Big, big day. And who knows?
Can we get a press pass and go to the combine?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, hey, guys.
Hi, guys, I'm at the combine.
I'm going to be like Jim Tom Sewell at the combine.
Oh, my God.
I think that Brock Purdy, he has to get signed by March 12th. And then when free agency starts, then that's when you do the, as soon as it starts, bam, T. Higgins going to the Niners or whoever they're going to do.
Oh, this is all we'll be doing. Refresh.
That's all you do.
We do it all the time. Everybody and every fan of every team. Because you're going to get all the signings that are going to happen prior. You're going to have one person that's going to back out and go to a different team. But you're going to have all those signings that you're going to know about 2 days before. And then at 4:00, they become official. And all of a sudden, 49er fans can actually like go live. It can be like, it's official. We got him. We got blah, blah, blah.
Well, usually it's always has agreed to a contract. Now, if you look at everyone who's out there, right? T. Higgins is the youngest receiver that's going to be that's the top receivers that are free agents. So looking at Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin. Out of all those receivers, right? He keeps going down. DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson, Hollywood Brown, all these guys, right? Darius Slayton. It's a guy they could bring in. T. Higgins is 26. He's the youngest one out there.
Yeah, in his prime. Fresh.
He's in his prime. And so you're going to pay top dollar. His previous AAV was $21.8 million. He's going to command at least 25. And what's Debo making right now? He's making 25 or 26. So they're trying to get out from under that Debo contract. And so I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to move him and then give that money to somebody else. May it be T. Higgins. I mean, look, we knew that the rumor was coming out of the combine, right? Who was at the combine? It wasn't Kyle Shanahan. It was John Lynch. And then now we're hearing, and now as of last night, we heard that the Steelers have emerged as a possible suitor for Deebo Samuel. Who was John Lynch talking to you at the combine amongst all people? Mike Tomlin. There's pictures of him. Steph Sanchez and Johnny Dale posted pictures of on numerous days where those two were talking side by side. So that could easily be where this is coming from.
Awesome.
And so you move him to the Steelers, and then maybe you bring in a guy like T. Higgins, depending on how much money you can get out from underneath on Deebo Samuel. I don't have the exact numbers on like if you trade Deebo Samuel, like how much money you would save. I don't have that in front of me. I don't know what it is.
I'm sure. All I know is if you cut him post June 1st, you save a ton, and if you cut him prior, you're on the books for like $30 million or so.
Is it prior to June 1st?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, they're not going to cut him. I don't think they're going to cut him at all.
No, he's going to be here past it. They don't got to do anything to help him. He whatever, dude.
I think that the one time you could see him move is during the draft. When free agency starts up, I think he'll just be around. But I think that his name will really pop up during the draft. I think they're going to package him with some draft picks and then try to, there was talk about the Niners possibly packaging him and the number 11 pick to try and get the 5th pick in the draft to move up. I don't think they will. I really don't.
There's no way in hell somebody's
the Browns won't take him because the Browns can't afford him. Like they're bleeding money right now because Deshaun Watson is just.
It'd be the Saints who have they're so
nothing.
Yeah, but how do the Saints have these salary cap issues? Who do they have?
I have no idea. They have what's his face, their running back. I forgot his name.
I just don't understand how they're
He's
always
good,
in
though.
salary cap hell all the time.
Yeah.
They just backload a bunch of deals 10 years ago, and
they probably do. Who knows, dude? I don't know. I haven't broken it down, but
is it like a Bobby Bonilla where they're going to be paying somebody the rest of their life?
Deferred money, the Dodgers. Yeah. No, but I mean, like when you look at Deebo Samuel, that's another reason why everyone's saying that. On the Deebo Samuel podcast, he talked about how what's a team you think that's on the rise? Oh, Denver Broncos for sure. Who's there? Sean Payton. What is one thing that Sean Payton was known for in New Orleans? Oh, there's a guy by the name of what now? Who was their gadget guy? He was a quarterback.
Oh, Taysom
Hill. And so he's familiar with how to use gadget guys. So I think that's why Deebo Samuel was making all those comments about the Denver Broncos, because he's like, hey, look, coach, I could be your next gadget guy. I could do those things. I can run from the backfield. I can be a receiver. I can do all kinds of stuff for you. So I think that's why he was trying to appeal to the Broncos, because he's like, hey, look, come and get me.
Allow me to eat a ton of bologna sandwiches in the offseason. That's
and then not to mention he had his breakout game of the year against who? The Miami Dolphins with Mike McDaniel. He's like, Mike, look at me, I'm breaking tackles.
I'll tell you what, though, my brother is a Dolphins fan. He wants something to do with Deebo. I told 2 teams that you could watch for him to be traded to, Miami and the Texans. 2 teams that are previous. He's previously, they've had, Texans, they have D'Amico, and of course McDaniels. My brother's like, I don't want him. Get him out of here.
It'd be great, man. And this is aside from outside, distractions, but just playmaking ability and being a football player. Could you imagine if they package number 11 pick and Deebo Samuel, and they got a guy like Tyreek Hill? Now, he's going to make a lot of money.
He would be really dangerous in the Niners offense.
But you finally got a guy that can stretch the field.
All of a sudden, you're going to have a ton of room for Kittle and Jennings and Ayuk when he comes back.
Imagine that.
These guys that are great possession guys. And then you got this one guy who's, if he's one-on-one, I'm Purdy, I'm going to him all the time. Like always. Like, oh, where is he? See ya. Are you kidding me?
So Tyreek Hill, he had 81 receptions for 959 yards and 6 touchdowns. Wasn't his best year. But when you look at his stats, let's see here. Besides last season, in 23 and 22 and 21, all the way back to 2020, he was over 1,000 yards receiving. 2 years ago in 23, he was at 1,800 yards. But that's the thing, is that you get a guy who does that. Now, then what did he say just recently? You know what? I don't really want to go anywhere. I'm happy where I'm at. I want to stay here. This guy's an emotional guy who makes fucking weird comments, but what can the guy do? He could stretch the fucking field. If you got him out there running around, that's a massive distraction for the defense that you're playing against. And I think that opens things up for Pearsall, for Jennings. I would rather have Tyreek Hill than Deebo Samuel.
Oh, jeez.
And I wonder if you traded Deebo for Tyreek, how much of their salaries would offset? Like, how much more would you be paying Deebo Samuel, or how much more were you paying Tyreek Hill? Let me look it up. I know we're going past the hour.
Like a salary swap.
Tyreek Hill contract. Here, okay. I'll just say, you look up Deebo, I'll look up Tyreek Hill. Let me see. Okay, so Tyreek Hill is scheduled to, it says base salary is $10 million. And then next year it's 30, and the year after that it's $30 million. So you would definitely have him for next season at 10 million. I'll take that. If I'm reading that correctly. While if you look at Deebo's contract, you hear me typing.
His 2025 cap hit is 15.
Who?
Deebo's is. Yeah, it'll be 15 million.
Is that what it is?
Just for this year.
On Sport Track, it doesn't even show that. It just shows base salary. Like, oh.
Contract years, 3 years, 71.
Yeah, 3 years, $71 million that he signed.
Dead cap. 2020. 31 million dead cap if they were to trade him or release him. I think
it's if you release him. But who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? But we're over here doing numbers and we're like, oh.
That's a lot of money to be dead cap. Whew.
You know what? It's not my money, so I don't care.
Yeah, it's not our money.
It's
That's
not our money. I don't care. As long as you give me the best talent on the field, that's all I care about. So we'll see what they do.
all I
Let's
know
see.
is that this is an like we said, it's an important off season. It's very, 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 very important. Um, it's they have to make all the right decisions this year
Yeah.
because the Eagles just showed you the team you can't beat. The Eagles went and stomped them out. So the Niners, I it just like I said with the Diva or with Kittle with the WW Raw and you got the Warner House podcast. I'm just like, everybody go away, disappear. I don't want to see
Yeah.
you.
Just focus
You
on
got.
football, dude.
I know it's the whole shut up and dribble thing. That's not what I mean. It's a bad dude. The aura is so low right now. Nobody's afraid of you. Everybody's been afraid of you for years. Nobody fears you. Now all of a sudden, people are asking, do the Eagles have a chance to have a dynasty? No one's talking about the Niners. So it's tough,
Well,
man. The Niners did this to
yeah, but
themselves.
you know what though? After last Super Bowl when the Niners lost, I remember they were like, see, Vegas has the Niners as the favors to win the next Super Bowl."
I saw that.
They don't fucking know. I mean,
Nobody
they're just
knows.
like they're just basing it off of what they last saw, and then when the season starts, like, oh yeah, maybe not. Um,
Debo for Hill, post June 1st designation, both save money.
yeah, it'd be post June 1st. Otherwise, you're gonna hit. Well, he said 31 million in dead cap.
Nobody in Miami is going to be happy for Debo. Everybody in San Francisco would
Well,
pee in their pajamas for.
to be honest, I think that if you were to get Tyreek Hill, it would be Debo plus the number 11, your first round pick, or Debo plus a third round pick. You know what I mean? A second round pick because they want something of value.
They're not
know?
getting a first. No,
they wouldn't get a first.
Neither of them are.
I think I said that earlier too. And I was like, I would do it. I think it's Debo plus a third or fourth round pick. Or maybe Debo in a fifth round gets you Tyreek Hill. I don't know.
Strawberry React says that's because it's an overaction here era in sports. Yeah, it's all that's what it is. The one problem I have is every time somebody wins or every time somebody does something now is Patrick Mahomes' legacy forever tarnished. I'm like, leave the guy alone. He's got 3 Super Bowls, dude. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Do I like him as a player? Do I think he's a diva? Yes. But is he really, 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 really good? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The Eagles just had their number.
Yeah.
They played the perfect game. That's what they did. So,
guys, remember to smash the like button and subscribe.
yeah, on the Gray Area Sports is in the bio of my stream. I have the link to his channel. You click on it, go right to it. Bro, like he talks Warriors, he talks Giants, not just 49ers. He's not a one-trick pony like me.
I mean, I'm mainly 49ers. I mean, I talk about these other guys on my sports radio show, which I do on Wednesdays at 11.
I love your the presentation.
Yeah,
you have a radio voice. You
No,
sound
thank
like
you.
a radio guy. You like
You
me.
sound like a
realize that-
football guy, like fucking Trent Baalke.
Oh,
Steve-O, Lakers or nothing. God, Steve-O, I knew we didn't like you.
I guess they're not. I'm not a basketball fan. I was a Bulls fan in the 90s.
Steve-O's always here to jab me in the side.
Steve-O jabs everybody. That's what he does.
That's
He
why
keeps
great.
everybody honest. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Hopefully, we'll see you guys us together again at some point in the future. Hopefully, as we get closer to free agency. But until then, everybody have a great rest of your afternoon wherever you are, and take care, everyone. Peace.
Peace.